After 10 years undercover, I finally took down the entire drug trafficking ring. On the day my identity was restored, among the family who came to pick me up, my daughter, whom I most wanted to see, was not there. My husband pointed at a heavily made-up girl. She is our daughter. She lives in the penthouse I bought for my daughter, using the supplementary card I left for her, with the pin set as her birthday. The bill shows she spent $300,000 last week. But I can't even match the mole at the corner of her eye. I smiled, pulled out my gun, and pressed it against her forehead. 3 seconds. Tell me where my daughter is. My aim isn't as bad as my memory. 10 years, I took down the largest drug trafficking syndicate entrenched in the Golden Triangle. The day my identity was restored, the sunlight was blinding. The task force colleagues who came to welcome me, including my husband Reese Gu, were all there. Only my daughter, Tess, is missing. Reese Gu points to an unfamiliar girl. She wears heavy makeup, and her perfume is overwhelming. Kira Lynn, this is Tess. She has grown up. I watched her, looking at her smooth eye corner. My daughter has a small tear mole at the corner of her left eye. I remember. I laughed, the gun muzzle pressed against her forehead. The cold metal touched her warm skin. 3 seconds. Tell me where my daughter is. My marksmanship is not as bad as my memory. The girl screamed. Reese Gu rushed over. His face deathly pale. You're crazy. Kira Lynn, she is Tess. I ignored him. My gaze fell on the girl's neck. It was a platinum necklace. The pendant was designed by me personally. Inside is sealed Tess's first baby tooth that fell out. My fingers began to count down. 3, 2. The girl's body trembled like a sieve. I'll talk. Her voice was choked with tears. Reese Gu tried to rush forward to grab my gun, but I countered with an elbow strike to his chest. He grunted and stumbled back 2 steps. After 10 years undercover, my skills are no longer what he remembers. 2. My voice held no warmth. The girl completely broke down. She's at the Morning Star Correctional Center in the suburbs. Morning Star Correctional Center. I've heard that name. A shelter for problem children known for its strictness and high mortality rate. My heart felt as if it were being gripped by an icy hand. Why, my daughter, my Tess, why was she there? I withdrew the gun and tucked it back into my waistband. The girl collapsed to the ground. Reese Gu's face was full of fear and anger. Kira Lynn, please let me explain. I kicked him away with 1 foot. Get out of the way. 3. I rushed out of the penthouse. As the elevator descended, I dialed Captain Lao Zhong's number. Old Zhong, help me look up the Morning Star Correction Center. Address, person in charge, all surveillance access. I need it right now. On the other end of the phone. Old Zhong didn't hesitate in the slightest. Received. The permissions will be sent to your phone within 5 minutes. Kira Lynn, I hung up the phone. I don't have time to listen to his concerns. In the underground garage, a black SUV was parked quietly. It was assigned to me by the bureau. I pulled open the car door and got in. The engine roared, like a suppressed beast's growl. The car sped out of the underground garage and merged into the traffic. My phone vibrated. It's an encrypted file sent by Old Zhong. Address, person in charge, internal structure diagram. Everything is included. There's even an entry for real-time monitoring. I clicked on the monitor. The screen was divided into more than a dozen small windows. The hallway, the activity room, the confinement room. Pale and oppressive, I searched frame by frame. My hands are shaking. I'm afraid of seeing something I don't want to see. My Tess, Mom is back. Wait a little longer. 4. The car sped along the highway. The wind howled through the car window, like the wails of countless people. I finally reached a blind spot in the surveillance. No, it's not a blind spot. Someone covered the camera with a cloth, but I recognized the room number, 307. It's the intensive care isolation unit. My heart stopped instantly. I stomped the accelerator to the floor. The SUV shot toward the outskirts like a black bullet. Venus Correctional Center came into view, white high walls, topped with barbed wire. It looked more like a prison. The security guard at the gate tried to stop them. I didn't slow down. I crashed straight through the heavy iron gate. Amid the screeching sound of twisting metal, I charged inside. The front of the car came to a stop against a flower bed. I kicked the car door open. Several men in uniforms surrounded me, holding electric batons. Who are you? How dare you break into Morningstar? I remained silent. I directly drew a gun from behind my waist. The pitch-black gun muzzle instantly silenced them. I walked toward the main white building, heading to room 307. My footsteps were steady, but every step felt like walking on the edge of a knife. 5. Paid point. The door to room 307 was locked. I lifted my foot and kicked it open. The door slammed against the wall with a loud crash. The room was very dark. The windows were nailed shut with wooden planks. The air was filled with a musty smell and the scent of medicine. There was also a thin, small figure curled up on the iron bed in the corner. It was Tess. I recognized her at a glance, even though she was emaciated beyond recognition. Her hair was dry and yellow, like a clump of weeds. She was wearing an ill-fitting hospital gown, with clear restraint marks on her wrists and ankles. Hearing the sound, she looked up in terror. Those eyes, once as bright as stars, now held only emptiness and fear. She looked at me, her lips moved, but no sound came out. My tears burst forth at that moment. For 10 years, living on the edge, I never shed a single tear, but now, I cried like a child. I walked over and slowly crouched down. Tess, it's Mom. My voice was hoarse and trembling, unfamiliar even to myself. Mom is back. A flicker of emotion stirred in her vacant eyes. Then, as if using every last ounce of her strength, she reached her hand out to me. Her arm was covered in needle marks. I took her hand, cold, thin, nothing but skin and bones. I held her in my arms. She was as light as a feather. I felt her faint breath and the abnormal rise and fall of her chest. I unbuttoned her hospital gown. On her chest, there was a long, newly healed scar, like a ferocious centipede. My blood ran cold in an instant. I held her and rushed out of the room. The people at the door, seeing me come out, tried to surround me again. Holding my daughter, I swept the gun barrel in a circle in front of them. Anyone who dares to stop me, I'll kill them. 6. I carried Tess into the back seat of the car. I drove at the fastest speed possible to the best private hospital in the city. This hospital had resources I once exchanged with my life. I drove straight to the emergency entrance. The dean was personally waiting there with his team. When he saw Tess in my arms, his expression changed. Hurry, prepare the operating room, all specialists, get in position immediately. Tess was rushed into the emergency room. The red light is on. I stood in the corridor, covered in blood. Some of it was from others, and some was my own. My arm was cut when I slammed into the door, but I can't feel the pain. All my senses are focused on that tightly closed door. A few hours later, the door opened. The director came out, took off his mask, with a grave expression on his face. Officer Lin. The situation is very bad. The child has long-term malnutrition, multiple soft tissue contusions, and severe psychological trauma. The most critical issue is her heart. She had half of her pericardium removed. My mind is completely blank. Pericardium. Back then, in order to save her congenitally weak heart, I pulled countless strings to obtain an experimental gene therapy from abroad. That medication could stimulate the regeneration of the heart muscle and pericardium. It's something to keep her alive. Why was it removed? Where's the medicine? The gene serum I left behind. I grabbed the director's arm. The director sighed. The medication was picked up by your husband, Reese Gu, a month ago. He said it was for Tess. We verified the information. And that girl is indeed named Tess Sue, the same as your daughter, Tess Sue, that imposter. I see, everything is clear now. Not only did they steal my daughter's identity, but they also took her life-saving medicine. A surge of metallic sweetness rose in my throat. My vision went black. 7. I woke up again. In the hospital room, old Jong was sitting by the bed, looking worried. You're awake. How do you feel? I struggled to sit up. Where is Tess? She's still in the ICU, but her condition has stabilized. I breathed a sigh of relief, only to be immediately overwhelmed by a surge of intense anger. I pulled out the 4 tube from my hand. I want to go back. Kira Lin. Calm down. Old Jong held me down. How can I calm down? My daughter almost died. They stole the life-saving medicine. How can I calm down? My voice was hoarse, like the roar of a trapped beast. Old Jong fell silent. he knew my past, he knew what Tess meant to me. After a long while, he let go of his hand. I'll send someone with you. No need. I stood up. This is my family matter. I changed into my own clothes and walked out of the hospital room. My home, the place I protected with 10 years of youth and blood. Yet ultimately betrayed me. I returned to that penthouse. The door was unlocked. I pushed the door open and entered. The living room was empty. I walked towards Tess's room, the room that I had once decorated into a pink fairytale castle. Now, the walls were covered with messy celebrity posters. The floor was littered with luxury packaging boxes. And that girl named Tess Sue was lying on Tess's bed, wearing a face mask, leisurely listening to music. Reese Gu sat by the bed, peeling an apple. When he saw me, he froze. Tess Sue was so frightened that she sat up. Why are you back again? I ignored them. My gaze falls on the bedside table. There sits a constant temperature medical box. Inside is the last dose of gene therapy I prepared for Tess. The syringe is empty. The medicine has been used. It was used on this imposter. I laughed. He laughed until tears streamed down his face. My phone rang. It was the hospital calling. Officer Lin. Miss Tess is experiencing cardiac rejection and urgently needs gene therapy to stabilize her condition. I hung up the phone. His gaze, inch by inch, shifted toward Reese Gu and Tess Sue. That gaze was like a blade dipped in poison. You all deserve to die. 8. Reese Gu's face instantly lost all color. He stood up, blocking Tess Sue. Kira Lin, listen to me. Tess, she has severe antisocial personality disorder. Sending her to the correctional center is for her own good. We only gave the medicine to Tess Sue because she was harming Tess Sue. Lies. Lies that come so easily. My Tess has always spoken softly since she was little. She would cry for half a day even if she stepped on an ant. Antisocial personality. I walked towards them step by step. The high heels made a crisp sound as they hit the floor. Each step felt like a blow to their hearts. For her own good. So you locked her in hell and had her organs harvested. For her own good. So you let an imposter live in her room, spend her money, and use her life-saving medicine. My voice was very soft, but it made Reese Gu's body start to tremble. I didn't know it would be like this. The people at the correction center said they were very professional. Professional, I sneered. So professional that they torture people until they're half dead. I stopped in front of him. She raised her hand and touched his face. His skin was well maintained, unlike mine, covered in scars. Reese Gu, you disgust me. I withdrew my hand and slapped him across the face with the back of it. The sound was sharp and loud. He was struck so hard that his head snapped to the side, and half of his face instantly swelled and turned red. He looked at me in disbelief. You hit me. Hit you. I grabbed him by the collar and pulled him close to me. Today, I'm going to take your life. 9. Tess Sue screamed from behind. Murder. Help. I didn't look back. I stared into Reese Gu's eyes. Those eyes that once made me drown are now filled with fear and calculation. 10 years, I said, in the 10 years I was gone. Is this how you took care of our daughter? Where did all the 1 million I transfer to you every month go? I told you to hire the best teachers and the best doctors for her. Yet you sent her to a place like that. Reese Gu's lips trembled, unable to speak. Kira Lin, it's her own fault for not learning to be good. She stole things, fought, and even set the nanny's hair on fire. Is that so? I let go of him and took out my phone, opened a video. It was a recording of Tess from when she was little. In the picture, the little girl is holding an injured kitten, carefully bandaging its wound. She looks up and smiles at the camera. Her eyes curve like crescent moons. The teardrop mole at the corner of her left eye is clearly visible. I know what kind of person my daughter is better than you. I turned off the video. It's you. My gaze turned to Tess Sue. What kind of thing are you? A counterfeit. And you dare to seize the nest? I walked over, grabbed her by the hair, and dragged her off the bed. She cried out in pain. I dragged her into the living room and threw her onto the floor. The platinum necklace around her neck glinted harshly under the light. I reached out and snapped it. The pendant fell to the ground and broke open. It was empty inside. Tess's baby tooth was gone. Where are the teeth? I asked. Tess Sue covered her neck, looking at me in terror. What teeth? I don't know. You don't know. I picked up the pendant from the ground and held it in my palm. The hard metal dug into my palm, causing pain. I remembered how Tess looked when she was losing her baby teeth. She cried and said it hurt. Yet she handed me the fallen tooth as if it were a treasure. Mom, please keep it safe for me. This is my treasure. That is my treasure. It is our treasure. Now, it's gone. My rage is completely burning. I grabbed the fruit knife on the coffee table, pressed it against Tess Sue's face. I'll ask you one more time. Where is the tooth? 10. Tess Sue was scared out of her wits. In the trash can. I thought it was unlucky, so I threw it away. Trash can. My daughter's treasure was thrown away by her as if it were trash. I laughed. The blade gently glided across her smooth cheek, leaving a faint bloodstain. She gasped in pain but dared not move. Bad luck. Then today, I'll let you know what real bad luck really means. I grabbed her hand and pressed it onto the coffee table. Raised the fruit knife. Reese Gu rushed forward. Kira Lynn, don't you dare act recklessly. I've already called the police. Call the police. He actually called the police to arrest me. I turned to look at him, my gaze icy cold. Alright, I'd like to see who the police will arrest when they arrive. Me, the one who's made great contributions, or you, the beast who abuses your own daughter and colludes with outsiders to seize property. Reese Gu's face instantly turned deathly pale. He had forgotten. I am no longer the undercover agent who needs to hide in the shadows, unable to reveal my identity. I am Kira Lynn. He is a special first-class hero of the Ministry of Public Security. He is a hero whom the entire city must respect. He was afraid. He was truly afraid. Kira, we are husband and wife. We have 10 years of feelings, a relationship. Looking at his hypocritical face, I just felt like vomiting. From the moment you sent Tess to hell, all that remains between us is hatred. I stopped looking at him. The knife in my hand came down with a sudden, violent force. Ah! Tess Sue's scream echoed throughout the entire apartment. I had severed her pinky finger clean off at the root. 11. Blood splattered all over my face, warm and sticky. Tess Sue was clutching her hands, rolling on the ground and wailing in agony. Reese Gu collapsed to the floor, his face ashen with fear. At that moment, the apartment door was suddenly flung open. A middle-aged man wearing a police uniform, with the rank of first-class police commissioner on his shoulders, rushed in. It was Zhao Donglai, the deputy director of the municipal bureau. Several special police officers followed behind him. Zhao Donglai's pupils contracted as he took in the scene inside the room. Kira Lynn, stop, he shouted sternly. I slowly stood up, wiping the blood from my face. Chief Zhao, you've come at just the right time. I have 2 scumbags here that need to be dealt with. Zhao Donglai stared at Tess Sue lying on the ground and her severed fingers, his face ashen. Scumbags, Kira Lynn. I think you're the one who's gone mad. Do you even know who she is? She's the daughter of Governor Sue. You just got your identity back, and you're already causing such a big mess. Governor Sue, I see. No wonder Reese Gu has such nerve, so has climbed up to a higher branch. Reese Gu seemed to have grabbed a lifeline, scrambling frantically to throw himself at Zhao Donglai's feet. Chief Zhao, save me. She's gone mad. She's trying to kill me. She even abused Tess. Tess is covered in bruises from her beatings. Sending her to the correctional center was for her own good, twisting the truth, shameless to the extreme. Tess Sue also cried out, Uncle Zhao, save me. It was her daughter who was mentally disturbed and abused me. I was only defending myself. She even tried to kill me. Singing the same tune, the coordination was seamless. Zhao Donglai looked at me, his eyes filled with disappointment and anger. Kira Lynn, I am deeply disappointed in you. You have made contributions, and the country will not treat you unfairly, but your achievements are not a license to abuse violence and disregard human life. Now, immediately put down your weapon and come back to the station with me for investigation. The special police officers behind him raised their guns and aimed at me. I laughed. He smiled with extreme sarcasm. Investigation. All right, but not back to the station with me. I took out my phone and dialed a number. Hello, Black Panther. This is Kira Lynn. You have 10 minutes to mobilize all your people. Lock down the entire city of Air, especially the highway exits leading to the province. Without my order, not even a fly should be able to get out. Tell them, if anyone dares to force their way through, shoot to kill. From the other end of the phone came a calm and resolute voice. Yes, I guarantee the mission will be completed. I hung up the phone, watching Zhao Donglai's drastically changed expression. Director Zhao, I am now speaking in my capacity as a special inspector from the Ministry of Public Security. I suspect that you, along with Governor Su, Reese Gu, and others, are involved in a major case involving child trafficking, intentional injury, and duty-related crimes. Until the investigation is concluded, you and your subordinates must remain here. I had barely finished speaking. Outside the window, the sound of orderly footsteps could be heard. Along with the roar of helicopter propellers, Black Panther assault team, I personally trained them, the most elite special forces in the country. They arrived, 12. Zhao Donglai's face turned from pale to white, then from white to purple. He looked at me in disbelief. You dare to mobilize the Black Panthers? That's a unit directly under the Central Command. What authority do you have? I didn't answer him. A man wearing black combat gear, his face painted with camouflage, descended from above. He smashed through the window and landed steadily in front of us. He is the captain of the Black Panther, codenamed Black Panther. He gave me a standard military salute, reporting to Captain Lin. All members of the Black Panther assault team are present, awaiting orders. Captain Lin, Zhao Donglai, and Reese Gu were both stunned. They didn't know, before becoming an undercover agent, I was the first and only female captain of the Black Panther assault team. This unit was established entirely by me. They only take orders from me. I pointed at Zhao Donglai and the special police officers he brought with him. Disarm them and keep an eye on them. On it, Black Panther waved his hand. A dozen team members filed in. Their movements were swift and silent. Within seconds, Zhao Donglai and his men were disarmed and brought under control. Zhao Donglai trembled with rage. Kira Lin, are you trying to rebel? Rebel? I walked up to him, looking down at him from above. Director Zhao. It seems you've misunderstood something. I'm not discussing this with you. I'm informing you. My gaze swept over Reese Gu and Tessu. They were completely terrified, especially Reese Gu. He collapsed on the ground, his pants soaked through, emitting a foul, pungent stench. How pathetic. This is the man I once loved. A complete and utter coward. As for Governor Su, I paused, picked up a tissue from the table, and wiped the blood from my hands. He will come in person soon and explain it to me. 13. At the apartment building's entrance, the sound of sirens and the roar of military vehicles blended into a chaotic symphony. The entire building, even the entire residential complex, was sealed off by the Black Panther assault team. The place was packed to the brim. Reese Gu looked at the scene outside the window and completely broke down. He knelt on the ground and crawled to my feet. Kira, I was wrong. I was really wrong. It's all Tessu. She seduced me. She made me send Tess away. It was all her idea. It has nothing to do with me. He was crying and sniveling, clinging to my leg, begging desperately. I looked down at him, looking at his ugly face. I just felt a wave of nausea. I kicked him away with one foot. It's okay, Reese Gu. Do you think I'm a fool? Without your consent, who can touch my daughter? Without your signature, who can take the medicine I left behind? You're pushing all the responsibility onto a woman. Are you even a man? My words, like knives, pierced his heart. He collapsed on the ground, unable to speak. I ignored him. I walked up to Tessu. She was still clutching her severed finger, trembling as she huddled in the corner. Now, it's your turn, I said. Tell me, where is my daughter's pericardium? Tessu raised her head, her eyes filled with venomous hatred. I don't know anything. You won't get anything out of me. She was still being stubborn. I laughed. I pulled over a chair and sat down in front of her. From the pocket, he pulled out a small voice recorder. He pressed the play button. Reese Gu's voice came from it. Baby, don't worry. I will definitely get that medicine left by Kira Lin for you, and that little bastard's pericardium. I've already contacted the doctor. The surgery is scheduled for next week. By then, your heart condition will be completely cured. Then we can be together forever. This is the deleted call recording I just recovered from Reese Gu's phone. Tessu's face instantly turned deathly pale. She looked at Reese Gu in disbelief. Reese Gu, on the other hand, seemed to have all his bones removed, collapsing into a limp mess. I turned off the voice recorder. Now, do you still want to say you don't know? My voice was soft, yet carried a chilling coldness. Tess Sue, my patience has its limits. The suffering my daughter endured, I will repay tenfold, 100-fold, upon you. Where should I start? I picked up the fruit knife still stained with blood, holding it against her face. With this face, is that still the same dirty heart you got by trading my daughter's organs? 14. Tess Sue completely broke down. She screamed, struggled, trying to get away from me. Don't come closer, you lunatic. My dad is the governor. He won't let you get away with this. The governor? I laughed. Do you really think he has time to deal with you right now? I had barely finished speaking. The Black Panther walked over and whispered a few words in my ear. I nodded. Stand up and walk to the window. Downstairs, a line of black cars is slowly approaching. The lead car bears a provincial government license plate. Governor Sue has arrived. It was faster than I had anticipated. The motorcade came to a stop downstairs. A man with graying hair but a vigorous and spirited demeanor stepped out, surrounded by several secretaries. He looked up toward the floor where I was. His eyes were gloomy. I opened the window. A cold wind rushed in. It blew through my hair. I looked at the man downstairs and revealed a cold smile. Governor Sue. Long time no see. My voice wasn't loud, but it carried far in the quiet night. Governor Sue narrowed his eyes. Obviously, he recognized me, or rather, he had already investigated me. Comrade Kira Lin, what do you mean by this? His voice carried an air of official authority, deploying troops without authorization, surrounding state cadres, and even injuring people. You have no regard for the law. The law? I laughed. Governor Sue, you're talking to me about the law. When your daughter stole my daughter's life-saving medicine and harvested her organs, did you ever think about the law when you used your authority to cover up her crimes? Did you ever think about the law when you conspired with my beast of a husband to scheme against everything I had? Did you ever think about the law? Each of my questions shot toward him like bullets. Governor Sue's expression grew increasingly grim. Utter nonsense. My daughter is inherently kind-hearted. How could she do such a thing? It's you. You're the one who's mentally unstable, resorting to violence, still making excuses. How ridiculous. I'm too lazy to waste any more words on him. I turned around and said to the Black Panther, take the two of them away. Let their family have a good reunion. 15. Reese Jiu and Tess Sue were dragged away like two dead dogs. Zhao Donglai was also taken away. I did not go down. I stood by the window, coldly watching the commotion downstairs. Governor Sue saw his daughter's tragic state and her severed fingers. His eyes turning red with rage, he pointed at me and started cursing loudly. Madman, you're a complete and utter madman. I'll make sure you rot in prison. I will make you pay for this. Tess Sue was also crying out, Dad, save me. She's trying to kill me. She even wants to dig out my heart. Reese Jiu knelt on the ground, kowtowing repeatedly. Governor, help. This was all done by Kira Lin. It has nothing to do with me. What a spectacular show. The Black Panther team members around stood expressionless, like statues. Only I knew that their guns were all loaded. All it would take was a single command from me. The few people downstairs would instantly be riddled with bullets. Governor Sue was still shouting arrogantly. His secretary behind him took out a phone, seemingly calling someone, calling for backup. It's useless. Since I dared to do this, I have already cut off all their escape routes. Sure enough, a few minutes later, the secretary, with a pale face, put down the phone and whispered a few words into Governor Sue's ear. Governor Sue's cursing abruptly stopped. He looked at me in disbelief. For the first time, fear showed in his eyes. He finally understood. He was not facing an ordinary, easily manipulated police officer, but a presence that could shake the entire city, even the entire province. He was afraid. He was truly afraid. He stopped cursing and instead adopted a tone of negotiation. Comrade Kira Lin, let's talk this out properly. This matter might be some kind of misunderstanding. Shall we sit down and discuss it slowly? Talk. I laughed. Now you want to talk. Too late. I took out my phone and dialed another number. A number from the capital. The call was quickly answered. Chief, This is Kira Lin. You should already know about the matter. I just want justice. If Sitia can't give it to me, if this province can't give it to me, then I'll take it myself." From the other end of the phone came an aged and authoritative voice. "Xiao Lin, I'm sorry for the injustice you've suffered. Rest assured, the country will not let you and your daughter endure this immense grievance in vain. I have already dispatched a special task force from the Supreme People's Procuratorate. No individual or organization will be allowed to shield the criminals. Now, hand the phone to that person surnamed Su." I threw the phone out the window. The Black Panther reached out and caught it, then handed it to Governor Su. Governor Su, with trembling hands, put the phone to his ear. I don't know what was said on the other end of the phone. His legs went weak, and he directly knelt on the ground. The phone also fell to the ground. He seemed completely drained of all energy and spirit. His face was ashen. 16. The special task force from the Supreme People's Procuratorate arrived very quickly. That very night, they arrived in City A by special plane. Leading the team was Prosecutor Li, known as the Iron-Faced King of Hell, Governor Su, Zhao Donglai, Reese Jiu, Tess Su, and all individuals involved in the case have been taken away. The Morning Star Correctional Center was shut down overnight. None of the responsible personnel and staff inside managed to escape. All the imprisoned children have also been rescued. A long-standing evil that had entrenched itself in City A for years was completely eradicated, and I have been staying by Tess's bedside. She hasn't woken up yet, lying there quietly, like a fragile doll. The doctor said her condition is very complex. The removed pericardium can be surgically repaired. However, the misused gene therapy has already caused irreversible damage to her body. She may experience various long-term complications in the future. It could even affect her lifespan. I held her cold hand, my heart aching as if cut by a knife. My Tess, my precious one, whom I would protect with my life. But I was hurt beyond recognition by the person I trusted the most. Prosecutor Li from the task force came to see me once. He told me that Tess Su's heart did indeed receive a pericardial transplant from my daughter, and the lead surgeon was the most renowned cardiac surgeon in the city, whom Reese Jiu contacted through Zhao Donglai. As for the money I left behind, most of it was squandered by Reese Jiu and Tess Su, buying luxury cars, purchasing high-end goods, traveling the world. They lived a heavenly life, and my daughter is struggling in hell. Prosecutor Li also told me. Reese Jiu and Governor Su engaged in numerous powerful money transactions. They used my name to swagger and deceive outside, amassing enormous wealth. The evidence is conclusive. They will never get out in this lifetime. I listened without any expression on my face. I only asked one question. Where is Tess Su? Li Jian fell silent for a moment. She has a severe congenital heart condition. The doctors said she's not suitable for detention. She is currently under residential surveillance at the hospital. Not suitable for detention. What a great reason not to detain him. I stood up. Prosecutor Li, thank you for telling me this. I'll handle what comes next on my own. I walked out of the hospital room. The Black Panther team members waiting outside immediately followed. Captain Lin, where are we going? I looked out the window at the pitch-black night. Let's go meet that Miss Su, the one who's not suitable for detention. 17. The hospital where Tess Su is located is heavily guarded. There are 2 police officers guarding the entrance, but they couldn't stop me. The people from Black Panther directly took control of them. I walked into Tess Su's hospital room without any obstruction. She was lying on the bed, watching TV. She seemed to be recovering well. When she saw me, she was startled and instinctively reached for the call button. I walked over and unplugged the call button. Miss Su, long time no see. I pulled over a chair and sat by her bedside. She looked at me in terror, shrinking back toward the corner of the bed. What are you trying to do? I'm telling you. There are surveillance cameras here. Don't you dare do anything reckless. Surveillance. I glanced up at the camera in the corner. The Black Panther has been taken care of. Now, no one else will know what happens in this room. I don't want to do anything. I smiled and took a scalpel out of my pocket. I borrowed it from the emergency room. The blade gleamed coldly under the light. I'm just here to take back what rightfully belongs to my daughter. Tess Sue's eyes were fixed intently on the knife in my hand, her body trembled more and more violently. "You, stay away from me, help, help." She let out a piercing scream. Unfortunately, the two police officers outside the door could no longer hear. I stood up and walked toward her step by step. "Don't be afraid," I said. "The surgery will be over quickly, I promise. You won't feel too much pain. After all, when they took my daughter's pericardium, they didn't even use anesthesia." These words, like a bucket of ice water, extinguished Tess Sue's last hope. Only despair remained on her face. I leaned down and whispered softly in her ear, "You know what? Besides my marksmanship, what I'm best at is dissection. During those 10 years with the drug cartel, to gain their trust, I personally dissected no fewer than 100 corpses. I know the structure of the human body better than any surgeon, so, rest assured, I will, completely and thoroughly, remove that thing in your chest that doesn't belong to you, not a bit more, not a bit less." After I finished speaking, I stopped looking at her desperate face. I raised the scalpel in my hand, aimed at the scar on her chest, identical to the one on my daughter's chest, a hideous scar, then, slowly descended. 18. I don't know how I walked out of that hospital room. I only remember, my hands were covered in blood. The Black Panther helped me up and escorted me back to Tess's hospital room. I washed my hands and changed my clothes. I sat by Tess's bedside as if nothing had happened. The next day, the news reported, "Governor Sue's daughter, Tess Sue, has passed away due to a sudden heart attack, and efforts to save her were unsuccessful." Governor Sue's hair turned white overnight while he was in the detention center. Reese Gu was sentenced to life imprisonment. All of his assets were seized and transferred to Tess's name, including that penthouse once occupied by Tess Sue. Zhao Donglai, along with all the implicated officials, doctors, and staff of the correctional center, all received the punishment they deserved. The dust has settled. The sky in City A even seemed a bit blur. Only I know, this is far from enough. The punishment they received is not even 1/10,000th of the pain my daughter endured. I stayed by Tess's bedside, never leaving her side. I fed her, bathed her, and talked with her, although she spent most of her time in a deep sleep. I brought in the best cardiologists from around the world. They developed a detailed treatment plan for Tess. The surgery was very successful. Her pericardium was repaired using artificial materials. However, her body remains very weak. The psychological trauma is even more difficult to heal. When she is awake, she is always very silent. His eyes are vacant, and he doesn't communicate with anyone, not even with me. The doctor said it's severe PTSD. It will take a long time and sufficient patience to gradually recover. I am not afraid. I have plenty of time and patience. I owe her too much. I will use the rest of my life to make it up. 19. I submitted my resignation to the organization. I let go of all past honors and identities. I am no longer Officer Kira Lin, nor the Black Panther team leader. I am just a mother, the mother of a girl named Lin Yan. I sold that disgusting apartment in the city center, bought a house with a garden in the suburbs. It's very quiet there, and the sunlight is beautiful. I personally planted the garden full of Tess's favorite sunflowers. I brought Tess back home, every day. I stayed with her, I read her stories, painted with her, and took her for walks in the garden. At first, she was very resistant. She wouldn't speak, wouldn't look at me, and would even tremble at my unintentional touch. My heart ached as if pierced by needles, but I didn't give up. I told her over and over again, "Tess, don't be afraid. Mommy is here. No one can hurt you anymore." I put that platinum necklace back around her neck. Inside the pendant, I placed a new baby tooth. I found it among her belongings. It was the one she had taken off when she was 6 years old. That day, she held the necklace and cried. She cried her heart out. That was the first time she cried out loud after returning from the correctional center. I held her and cried with her. We cried out all the grievances, pain, and longing. From that day on, she began to slowly get better. She smiles at me. She calls me Mom in a very soft voice. She holds my hand and watches the butterflies in the garden. I know my Tess is slowly coming back to me. 20. 1 year later, Tess's body has basically recovered. Her mental state has also stabilized a lot. She has started going to school. although she still doesn't talk much, she can now communicate normally with her classmates. Her paintings are getting better and better. In the paintings, the tones are no longer gloomy. Instead, they are filled with sunshine, flowers, and smiling faces. We went to see Reese Gu once. In prison, he has aged a lot, with most of his hair turned white. When he saw us, he cried. He kept saying, "I'm sorry." Tess didn't look at him from start to finish, grabbing my hand. She turned and walked away. I didn't look back either. Some people, some things, once they're gone forever. A few more years passed. Tess was admitted to her ideal university. She majored in art. She was going to another city. The day I took her to the airport, she hugged me and cried, "Mom, I'll miss you." I smiled and patted her head. "Mom will miss you too. Take care of yourself." She nodded, turned around, and walked into the security checkpoint. The necklace around her neck shimmered with a warm glow in the sunlight. I stood there, watching her figure disappear into the crowd. Tears fall silently. For 10 years on the battlefield, I protected the homeland behind me. Returning with a vengeance of iron and blood, I safeguarded the treasure in my palm. My mission is complete. My phone rings. It was old John calling. "Kira Lin, return to the team. The team needs you. The country needs you." I watched the scenes of planes taking off on the airport's large screen. I smiled. All right.